So, yeah, no, we were talking in amongst your illustrious directors about our best practices and having people participate and learning more about each other's businesses, and basically the idea came up to try an interview format because it draws out things that people may take for granted or forget to share, that kind of thing. And I think we're all a little bit fascinated with Kevin. You didn't know that, did you? Yeah. So, and today's Kevin Day. He had to tell you his territory. He had to bring the food, so thank him, and he brought the box of coffee. And he's agreed to be the first victim of an interview. So that's the background of how we got here, and we're going to take an hour and see what we can actually learn about.
So I kind of liked the idea when it was brought up because I was nervous about doing another best practices because I don't really know what my best practices are. So I like this idea that maybe, with the questions, I have no problem answering things, but, for me to do a presentation myself could be a problem.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start right off.
All right.
So I did a bit of stalking online and see. Yeah, I found the high school picture.
I have more hair.
Show it. Can we put that up now?
Hey, just go on his website.
Oh, that picture, yeah. Well, I just got the new ones yesterday.
Okay, good.
So you've been in the business since 2008,
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm in my
11
12th
years
year,
is not really that long. What did you do before real estate?
So I always worked in the hospitality industry, so I was a server for many years. I went to Brock University I wanted to be a chartered accountant. So when I started at Brock, I was in the accounting co-op program. And the second semester, they brought in accountants from the region to talk to us about what life would be like and whatever. And they broke no stereotypes. And I was not engaged with the program. I couldn't make anything balance. And I was afraid that I'd go to jail because I would just balance something so I could get my work done. So in year 2, I switched to business administration, and I finished my time at Brock. I graduated with a business administration degree. And then that last year, I met a girl in my program that was a broker out of Belleville, and she worked for Century 21 for her stepfather. And I liked the idea of, I didn't know where I was going to move to. Like, I was born and raised in Niagara Falls. I didn't want to go to Toronto for a business job. And I was like, what can I do in Niagara that, I can work for myself and have that freedom. So I started the real estate courses in 2006, and I finished them in December of 2007, and I started at RE/MAX in January of 2008.
So when you went into the business, did you go into it with a business mindset? Like you thought, okay, I have to set up systems, I need to have so much money in the bank, I have a goal to do this many deals, or did you kind of fly by the seat of your pants your first year?
Combination of both. So the company that we work for, our broker is, he was a big commercial real estate broker at RE/MAX in the 90s. And he kind of fell into owning the company at that time. And he was never really a great leader.
We're going to send it to him.
So we didn't have the best training systems in place, but his son and his nephew started at the same time that I started. So I actually got some training. And we started with Brian Buffini. We never finished it, but we did it for a couple of months. So there were some things from that I pulled from. The big thing that I did right away was the database, create the people, put the people in that you know. So I guess in a sense I had a few systems in place in the beginning. I really focused it on that database. So I put all the people in that I knew. I did an intro letter from what I remember, and I sent it out to everybody. And being from Niagara Falls, and my parents are both from Niagara Falls, my grandparents, we had a decent sphere of people. I grew up playing sports, my sister grew up playing sports, so I felt comfortable enough just sending this out. And looking back, it was I maybe had 200 people, I think, on this database. I sent it out, and over the years it shrunk and people got taken off, but it was a good starting point. It got my name out there. I can't remember now what I did, if it was just a business card that went out with a letter, but I sent that out. And then something else that I started, it was probably February of that year, I had an idea of sending out letters to small businesses in Niagara, just introducing myself, saying who I was. And I had the concept that hopefully at a small business, the owner would be the one receiving the mail that day, would open it and maybe would strike a chord, something on there. So I sent out 75 of those, and they weren't like personalized, it was just like local business owner or whatever. And I remember they were printed on my printer at home, so the quality wasn't even that great. And it actually worked out. There was a tanning salon in the Falls. The timing worked out. She received the letter. Her father-in-law had just passed away, and they were looking for a realtor to sell their place in Ridgeway, so just outside of Fort Erie. She called me. Something from the letter like connected with her. I can't remember if it was where I went to school or what, but she called me. We met. It was quick. Within 2 weeks, I had the listing. That was my second listing in the business, and it more than paid for the mail out, and yeah, it was. So then from that, I got 2 referrals right after that. Like, so one of her hairstylists was looking to purchase a house, so I helped them, and then she referred me to somebody, and that's when it just.
So 2 referrals out of one of your very first transactions. What did you do that wowed her so much that she wanted to refer people to you?
I think they were so green to the process. Maybe she liked I was green to the process, but they fell into having to sell this property. The father-in-law passed away. They were going to be moving into his place. They needed to sell their house. They had never sold before. And she felt comfortable with me. I think that she didn't feel that I was pushy. We talked through everything like we were a team when we negotiated the offer, when we put the listing together. And again, her hairstylist had never purchased before, and she wanted somebody that she could connect with, that didn't feel like she was going to be working with a salesperson, was going to be pushed into buying something that she could feel safe and a trusted confidant.
I think you said a couple of things there. One is that you made her feel comfortable, and people are afraid of salespeople in so many cases, think they're going to be pushed into something. So she was comfortable because she had trust. And the other thing you said was working as a team, taking that approach with your clients, that we're a team. I'm not making decisions for you, and you're not, the sole decision maker. We're a team to get the job done. So you had that mindset early on. Really good. How many deals did you do your first year?
I'm just pull up my notes.
You're supposed to know all this.
So I did 24 ends my first year.
Wow, that's amazing. That's first year.
Wow.
After 2008.
So when you had asked, like going into it, I did have goals, and my goals, to be honest, each year aren't as much. My clients are always my number one. I want them to be happy. I never want them to feel pressured. I'm going to work with them until they purchase, until they sell. But for my own personal goals, they haven't always been end goals. They've been dollar amount goals. Like that's how in my brain, those are my goals. So the first year, my goal was to make $100,000, and it was a stretch. Like it seemed crazy. I went from just serving to saying I wanted to gross $100,000, and I made $85,000 the first year. So it came close to what I was hoping for. But I remember, a couple of my close friends and stuff like, "You're crazy. That's never going to happen." You don't just make that. So yeah, when you had asked earlier about the goals, it's more each year I track on a dollar amount.
And how much do you internalize that when you set a dollar amount? Do you envision that? Do you do affirmations around that? Or do you just go, well, this year I'm going to do $1 million?
Yeah, it's more that one. So I remember going to our office that took us to Coach Ken Goodfellow, is that name?
Yeah.
And I remember we sat down and we had to, you started with whatever it was, your dollar amount, and then your deals, and you would work backwards, and each week you had to write so much of this. When I think of that, it's overwhelming to me. Yeah. So, and even last year when I think the last couple of years of how many deals I did or how much I made, if I think about how many deals I have to do each week, it's overwhelming. So I'm just like, put your head down, get to work, and hope that will come. I don't know. I can't. I do it, I think, subconsciously. I write the notes, I write the letters, I do my follow-ups. But if I put the pressure on myself to say I need to do, 2 deals each week or a deal and a half each week, I couldn't do it.
Can't do that. So, Remax, Chairman's Club level is 500,000 and up. And I know you've been a member of Chairman's Club for the last 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So how many transactions did you do last year?
65. 65 ends.
By yourself?
Correct. Yeah.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah.
And that's without an assistant?
Yeah, so Kyla last year was my first full year working together. We're not a formal team, but my big thing was I wanted somebody to count on that, you know, if I'm tied up on a weekend or I'm away, I want that person that I can rely on, and she's been fantastic for that. And the clients connect well with her because I think we have similar personality and similar styles. So, you know, I like that, you know, tomorrow she's going to be showing some houses for me. And my clients have worked with her before. So it's consistency where in the past it was kind of like different people or whatever, whoever was available. So, I forget the session.
Yeah, no, you answered that very well.
So you've hired her as your buyer's agent, or she's your assistant, or she's your partner?
Partner, like more of an informal, like, you know, if she's needs help, I'll take it, and if I need help, she'll help out. But like, we still do our own admin stuff, we still do our
So
own.
an informal relationship.
But as an agent, not as an assistant to
Correct.
do your secretarial stuff?
Correct.
So you
I still do all that myself.
Do you keep track of do you know your numbers? Do you know, let's say out of those 65 transactions, what was the split between buyers and sellers?
So last year, I did, so 30 of those ends were listings and 35 were buyers. So pretty much
a
50, almost 50-50.
Good even split.
Yeah.
That's a sign of help. And what about referrals? Did those 65 transactions include only sales, or also say referral fees you paid or rentals you did, or
Those were just
strictly
sales.
sales
Yeah,
transactions? Okay. And what percentage of your business came to you through referral from agents specifically? Business agents referrals?
I think 2.
And
One
do
was
you,
an agent, one was a mortgage. Same thing.
yeah. Do you keep track of where all your business comes from?
To a degree, but not really.
Where would you say the majority comes from?
So I actually did it.
Good.
Um,
Good boy.
So I don't track it on a regular basis, but so what I did was try to look at, of those deals last year, where they came from. So when I get, like, some of the leads on my listings, or pretty much all the leads on my listings, I forward to Kyla, she follows up, and if she makes the sale, we have our agreement. I actually didn't have any new clients last year that I didn't have any connection to, which I was surprised, but it kind of makes sense because all those leads work hard. So last year, 36% were referrals, either from like a past client, that includes like an agent or a mortgage broker referring to me. 44% were past clients, so people that I had done something previously with. And then the other 20% were people that are in my, either my database or in my sphere that I know that maybe just reached out and said we're ready to buy or sell.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. That's really strong. And so describe a typical client. What would be the main demographic that you would be dealing with?
Kind of all over. I've noticed in the last couple of years that, so when I first started, it was people my own age, was a good chunk of it, looking to buy their first place. The last couple of years, I'm getting older, so their younger siblings or younger cousins are purchasing, so we're starting to see that. And I'm also seeing some of my clients that were a bit older than me when I started, you know, their kids are looking to purchase, or they're looking to buy an investment property with their kids. But I would say the majority of my demographic is, you know, under 65 or 70, but I do have a handful of friends and clients that are elderly and seniors.
And do you typically sell houses? or condos, farms, waterfronts? What would be your most common transaction?
The majority would be houses. We don't have a ton of condos. We have, a handful of apartment-style condos, and we have a handful of townhouse-style condos. I went through spurts over the years. We do have mobile homes. I haven't sold any in the last couple of years, but I find that once you do get one, you seem to get a couple more after, just because somebody in the park saw your sign and wanted to sell. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I was doing another presentation, so I did all of my sales in the last 11 years, like my buyers and my listings. And I've sold just over 600 homes in the last 11 years.
Wow.
But my 5 or 6 lowest sales were the mobile homes, and the lowest was 25,000 up to about 65,000.
Hate any of those.
And Jonathan and I talked, we do our do group call on Tuesdays. And he had asked me last week or the week before. So I've never sold a house over $900,000. I've sold 2 $800,000 houses, 2 $700,000, 3 $600,000, and then everything's below that.
So you get really excited when there's a big deal.
That's big.
That's dinner out.
500, I'm
excited.
excited.
That's great. Walk me through a typical process when you first meet a buyer. So I've been referred to you, I want to buy my first home. So what's the process gonna be? I phoned you.
Okay.
Yeah, I called you. Hi Kevin, oh sorry, I texted you.
It's really not super formal. So depending on, I try and read what they're looking for, or try and get out of them what they want. It's all over the map. Like sometimes I'll have them come in. I have a very light buyer package that I provide. If they come in, we'll sit down with the laptop and maybe the screen. I'll show them are you on Matrix? So I'll show them like the portal and say I'm going to set you up on automated email so that they're going to come through. Kind of show them maybe what's out there. If they have some specifics in mind, I'll show them what's sold to hopefully align their price points with what they're thinking. And we'll have a chat that way. Other times they'll send a message and they'll say, so-and-so said you can get me on those emails. Can you set me up and get the parameters? And sometimes we don't even talk on the phone. Sometimes we don't even meet, but it gets the ball rolling. And I always find I connect best when we go out that first time, because that's when I can really get a feel for what they like, what they don't like. Sometimes I'm only talking to the one person, and there's 2 people in the partnership, and you get a feel for the other person's personality. Who's the decision maker. But it's really informal. And do you take them in your car, or do you meet people at a property, or what do you do? I've tried to make a habit of not taking people in my car. I can count on one hand how many times I've taken people in my car. For a couple reasons. One, I like to let them talk, especially between houses, and I find that they do. And they make progress by the time we get to the next place, they've discussed something. And also, selfishly for me, I can accomplish making my calls and texting and emailing between houses. Otherwise, I feel too overwhelmed at the end of it. I don't have time to catch up on that stuff. Probably in 5 or 6 years, I haven't driven anybody. And I don't make a big deal about it. I just say, I'll meet you at this house. And because of the area that I cover, we could be starting in Font Hill, which is way over here, and then I'm going to Fort Erie. So if I had to go back to our vehicles in the Niagara Falls office, I just couldn't do it. Right. So if someone really pushed, or there was, accessibility issues or something, of course, I could drive them around, no problem. But most of my clients are good with just coming from work, and because of where we live. Plus, then you don't have to clean your car every time, right? Cleaned it today to bring Kyla. 26 water bottles, 9 Starbucks cups. But no, I think because of the geographic distance, it's just easier, because sometimes I'm going somewhere right after, and a lot of them are coming from work to meet you somewhere, so I think it's easier all around. So do you have a process when you're showing the buyer a house? I suspect that you are never using any closing techniques on them. You're just listening, and when they say, we really like this, do you want to go back to the office, drop an offer, or whatever.
Is that typically what you do, or do you have some kind of a process to?
Not really. So when I first started, I had no idea how to show a house. Like our office, and I
This
don't
is
know,
the kitchen.
I don't know if other brokerages like, do that in the beginning. Like I don't really know how you start to show a house. So I used to watch Sandra from Property Virgins, and I really liked her. And I'm like, well, what does she do? And like, what does she say? And how does she take them through the house? But I usually say, like, I'm gonna give you guys your space, I'm gonna go around, turn the lights on, I'm gonna check things out. I always tell my clients that I'm gonna point out things that I notice, whether they're good things or bad things. Furnace looks older, air conditioning looks older, these windows, there's condensation on them, I see a spot on the ceiling. But I give them their space, and I'll take some notes as I go through. I like to play the devil's advocate, especially if they get overly excited quickly. I just want them to know, we noticed this, and I noticed that. You want to have somebody else come back through and look at it, we can deal with that at inspection. But I always tell them, you're not going to get any pressure from me. What I know, you'll know, and like if something's been relayed to me from the other agent, I'm going to share that with you. And if I think it's bullshit, I'm going to tell you that as well. Like, if they're trying to sell me on it, saying we had all these showings, we got an offer coming in, I'm going to tell you whether I think it's true or whether they're just trying to close on us.
At what point do you get a buyer agency signed? When you're doing the offer?
Or
me
after.
too. Okay. You just make me feel better.
I have maybe once or twice. I really don't think I've signed it many times before. That's
That's a lot of confidence. Now, what about your typical process with a seller? So I've texted you saying, I want to sell my house. Can you come see me tonight? What you can do?
So, Jonathan was a big help. It sounds terrible. I got a call a couple weeks ago, I got a text from somebody that said, my mom is elderly and she has moved in with me. We need to sell our house in Niagara Falls. Can you give me a call to discuss coming? So I talked to her on the phone, and she said she was going to be interviewing 2 other agents, and she wanted me to come as one of them. And I don't compete often. Like a lot of times it's usually just come and list, or like come and give me a price. So I was nervous and excited because I'm like, I hate losing, so I want this listing. But I also don't have a listing package to present. So I needed to put something together of substance. Like I have some fluff material about me and whatever, but so Jonathan helped kind of coach me through some things to do, and I put together a bit of a plan. But I don't do a formal book. I don't do a formal presentation. And I could tell too when I got there, I'm glad I didn't put together a full presentation because they wanted the price. Like, what do we need to do? Mom is older and she wants to sell this. What do we need to do to sell? So I had my package. I highlighted a few of the points that I thought, would set me apart from them, of what I could do in terms of marketing. So I highlighted those. I left that package with them. She really just wanted the price. And so within 24 hours, I told, this was a Saturday, within 24 hours I said, I'll get the evaluation off to you. She just wanted it emailed. I sent it to her on Sunday. I followed up with a thank you card on the Monday that I put in the mail. Thank you for inviting me into your home. The opportunity to do this. I'd love the opportunity to list your house, but you have to do what's best for you. Don't know. I haven't heard back yet. So tomorrow will be 2 weeks. She set the expectation for me early on though. She said it'll be at least 2 weeks before we make a decision. So every day I'm looking to see if the listing has come up yet.
I would call. I would
Yeah.
follow
I'll
up.
probably follow up.
Too, yeah.
After the meeting, I would follow up before the end of the week.
Let's do it live.
Yeah.
Not throwing you under the bus.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Morals is not subtle word.
I feel like I
He's already
connected
read
well
enough,
with
okay,
them. She's the daughter's from Dunnville. She lives, like the mother's lived in this house for 55 years. I tried to find some things that we could connect with on different topics. And I also offered, to drive out to her, like to the mom, to sign. Like, we're so used to DocuSign, but I said it's no problem for me to come. I have no problem, checking on the house at the end of the night for showings, make sure it's closed up. It's like, 5 minutes away from my office, so it's no problem.
So you were addressing what might be some obvious concerns,
to
or
her.
that should be concerns that we
Correct.
hadn't thought about. And you said you highlighted some things you would do that perhaps the other people they interviewed would not do.
Right.
Can you give us an example of one or two things?
So I've been using a professional photographer for probably the last almost a year now. I used to take my own photos, and they were pretty good. I liked the way they looked. But it was just one extra stress on me, and I like how this photographer works. Everything's uniform. So I've been doing professional photos for all of my listings. And then once in a while I do a video tour with them. They do drone and full video. The company that I use, he's big out of in the US. Like he'll do multi-million-dollar properties in Chicago, LA, and Miami. So it's high quality stuff, but it's pricey, and I don't think every listing needs it. So, you know, if we're near water, or we're near the park, or we're near something where it's got some good aerial shots, I use it. But in this case, I was competing, and it is on a nice crescent. There's a park nearby. It's a big lot. But I wanted to throw that in and say, like, that's something we can do. I thought that was the
And
biggest.
that wouldn't be typical in your market? It's not, everybody doesn't do it?
No. Some people, well, most people still use their cell phone or other crappy photos. Like, the standard is, the bar is low. She was excited about that, but she was more excited about the drone photography. She just thought that was really cool. So I hope that was one of the things that was going to stand out for them.
And do you show examples of that work?
Actually, in the follow-up email, I did send her some, yes, I did. So that was something. That's good, man.
Did she send you a text? Was it a text or the initial connection?
Yeah, so actually she had called. I was in a meeting. She didn't leave a voicemail, but my voicemail says for a faster response you can text me, and that is how she texted me. So that's how I got the introductory message from her, and then I followed up with a call.
So I'm going to move on to talking about systems a little bit. Do you use a CRM
No.
to keep track? So how do you keep track
Well,
of your
okay, so
database?
not on a regular basis. I have my database in Microsoft Access. I use it once a year for my Christmas mail out. I update the
So me coming
database.
up there to just.
I update the database about 5 days before I do my Christmas cards with everyone that purchased that year or so. Or I've also like mental notes of like who listed with somebody else, and those people I've lost.
Off they
oh, yeah,
go.
gone.
So how do you keep track of your clients and their addresses and phone numbers and?
So it's in there. It's in Microsoft Access. So I have their names, their address.
So, do you have a system when you list a property, let's say, you know, there's about 300,000 things you have to do. Do you operate off of a paper checklist, or do you have another way of managing that? It's all just memorized?
Well, yeah. No, like there's no place.
Wow.
Imagine how many
So-
deals you do with this.
I know.
How many hours in the
Just,
day?
you know, as being one of the old girls here in the business, piece of advice to you right now, get yourself a good CRM, get all the information in there as well as systems, because you're creating a saleable business.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you don't have a saleable business.
Right.
But you do when you have systems,
Right.
and you want to set that up early in the stage. The other thing is having systems in a CRM, you never have to think anymore. And when you're really busy, you know, all the steps of the things you know, weekly update, updating stats, checking this, whatever.
Right.
If you're getting an email from yourself every day telling you the stuff to do,
Right.
it's gonna make your life simpler. I just can't believe you don't have something like that.
I think about it, but I don't do anything.
It
just becomes complicated.
Because, you know, from time to time, you need to call or text a client. Do you just rely on having it in your phone or in your contacts?
In what way? Like, if I was reaching out to somebody,
So you have to call me now.
yeah.
How are you gonna find my phone number?
Oh, I'd probably have you in my contacts.
Okay,
I don't
and so
think I
you
do
have
that.
buyers that you're working with, how are you, and you wanna call a buyer because you just found a house?
So I would have them in my contacts, like a lot of us text or email. So I have all, like I put them in when we make that initial contact, when we start working.
I'm the same way, I just use Apple Contacts for all my
Yeah.
contacts. You don't need
But I've had
CRM.
some clients where we've done entire deals through Facebook Messenger, and then my office is saying, okay, we need, or the lawyer's calling saying we need a phone number for these people.
You're going, I don't
So I'm
know.
like, phone number please. I have their email for the most part because we've done the DocuSigns.
Yeah.
But a few years ago, before that, I didn't have email or cell phone number for some of the people.
So you're not keeping track then, let's say, of birth dates or home anniversary purchase dates or those?
No, and I love those
Touch point
ideas, and I've
follow-up.
thought about them over the years, but then I get busy and don't do it.
So that's interesting, because that is another question, is around follow-up and how you maintain relationships with people. And so now, knowing that you don't have a system for that, how do you keep track of that person you sold a house to 3 years ago? The 65 people you've sold houses to in the last 3 years, you know,
3 years last year.
so that they remember you too.
Yeah, so my Christmas mail out is my only point of contact with them throughout the year. And I've been extremely fortunate to have like a very, very loyal following. Like, very loyal. I had somebody email me yesterday. We've been working together for probably 7 years. They bought a house through me. They moved out east. They needed to lease their house. Their family has bought and sold through me. And they moved back in the fall and they said, we're looking to buy an investment property. And they said, when you're ready, I'm ready. Like, tell me. She's like, I don't want the emails yet, but I said, just tell me when you want to be put on the emails and we'll start looking. Follow up maybe 3 times since then. Not there yet, but we're going to see your mortgage guy next week, whatever. Yesterday I get an email from the buyer and he says, we went to go see a house on Monday and we really like it and we want to put an offer in. So I'm mad because I hate that they went through the other agent. Like, they should know better. We've done this enough times that they should know better. But they were like, oh, we didn't think we were there yet, but we're ready.
Yeah, we didn't want to bother you.
Yeah. So, you know, they didn't like the listing agent. They felt that he was too pushy and he didn't give them the attention. And they're like, we trust you. Like, we want your opinion on this. Can you check if you can vote for us on it? And like, it's stuff like that where they're just so loyal that I've been so fortunate that I don't worry with a lot of my clients because they do come to me in the end because they want my opinion. They want to know what I think and they don't want to move forward without having a discussion with me about it. So we did the offer last night and we got it accepted.
So your only touch point is your Christmas card?
But do you do?
But you know what, like I find that Facebook for me has been really good because, and I don't do it for business. I genuinely like the photo because I like the photo and I'll comment because I'm happy for them. But I think a lot of my clients feel connected to me because of social media. Like every day without fail, the happy birthdays. I send out those birthdays and they're nothing fancy, but you know, happy birthday, hope you have a great day, or you know, miss you, whatever it is. And I want it to be natural because I don't want it to come across as other. But I'm on there all day and like and comment, whatever, and I do think that people feel connected. And I, in the last couple of years, tried to find a balance between just posting my listings and my business stuff